Welcome back everybody, my name is Tucker, and in today's video I decided to go back to NBA 2K19 for the first time in a while for me personally, just because I was curious about something. I wanted to see what would happen if I simulated an entire season in 2K19 without a single player that was rated 80 overall or higher. Now before we get started really quick, let me know down in the comment section below a prediction, before you watch the video, a prediction for what you think is going to happen, who you think is going to end up winning the championship, potential players you have your eye on for winning the MVP, things like that. And as you can see, I went through the entire roster and just deleted any player that was rated 80 overall or higher, including free agents. The only exception to this on occasion might be if a player is playing well. 2K adjusts their ratings up and down throughout the season in the simulation, so that might be a way that someone becomes an 80 or higher. But as of right now, just their regular ratings, the best players in the league currently are a tie between Brook Lopez, Larry Nance, Jordan Clarkson, Marcus Smart, Marcus Morris. These kinds of players are going to be at the top of the league. Someone out of this group of players that's rated 79 overall and lower is going to end up winning the MVP. Obviously, a handful of these guys are going to end up making All-NBA teams and becoming All-Stars. So I'm just really interested to see, one, who the best teams are going to end up being, and then just how all of this is treated by 2K and just how everything goes. Just off first glance, there are a few teams like the Cavs and the Celtics that have a good amount of players right around that 79 mark that are probably going to end up being pretty good, but as we found out in plenty of videos in the past, 2K simulations aren't always the most reliable things in the world.
Beat the Warriors in 7, Kings in 6, Suns in 6 as the 8th seed, and win the NBA Finals in Game 7 by a single point.
So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to sim through everything and just stop as I see fit. So here we are about a month and a half into the season. It's the end of November. As you can see, I'm technically controlling the 76ers, but I'm not controlling anything. All of this stuff is on automatic. I just want to take a quick look at the standings. So in the East, not a huge surprise. The Celtics are up there at 15-7, tied with the Wizards, and you can see all the teams from top to bottom here. And the worst team in the league, some things never changed, still the New York Knicks. In the West, the Warriors are still up there, the Spurs, Thunder, but there's not really too much to get from this right now, so we're going to go and keep going. So here we are now at the All-Star break, and we have Team Dennis Schroeder and Team Marcus Smart. The interesting thing is Marcus Smart isn't actually on the team. He made the team, but he's hurt, so he's not participating on this list. So as you can see, we have a lot of first-time All-Stars in this group. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder, Pau Gasol, 7-time All-Star, Karis LeVert, JaMychal Green, and Rashawn Holmes. Those are your All-Star starters for Team Dennis. Reserves, Rondo, Harrison Barnes, Larry Nance, Kenneth Faried, Mo Bamba, Patrick Beverly, and DJ Augustine. Starters on the other side, Zach Randolph, who's barely played this year, barely even been with a team this year. Dwight Howard, another guy barely been with a team. Tony Parker and DeJounte Murray, both in the starting lineup, which is interesting. Mason Plumlee, you can see all the other guys over there as well. A lot of these are expected guys like, Derek Collison, Brook Lopez, Jeff Teague, Dennis Schroeder. These are all guys up near that 79 threshold, so some of the quote-unquote best players in the league for this example. At the halfway point, Boston Celtics maintaining their #1 seeding in the Eastern Conference to this point, and in the West, it is the Memphis Grizzlies. So with that done, I'm probably just going to go ahead and sim to the end of the season because I want to see how the playoffs work out, how the awards races goes, who the leading scorers are, the leading assist guys throughout the league. So we're just going to go ahead and go towards the end of the season. So we've made it past the regular season, and our MVP in our 79 and under league is DeJounte Murray, averaging about 14, 9, and 5. He's averaging 9 rebounds a game. Okay. Our Rookie of the Year is Colin Sexton, who's averaging 20 and 4. Pau Gasol was the 6th Man of the Year. Our Defensive Player of the Year was Nerlens Noel. Brook Lopez was our Most Improved Player, and Greg Popovich was Coach of the Year. And here is your first team All-NBA in this 79 and under scenario. DeJounte Murray, Dennis Schroeder, Zach Randolph, who I'm assuming signed as a free agent and joined the Toronto Raptors or was traded or something, Jabari Parker of the Wizards, and Mason Plumlee of the Nuggets. Second team All-NBA, Chris Dunn, Karis LeVert, JaMychal Green, Von Rabb, and Ivica Zubac. Third team, Lonzo Ball, Patrick Beverly, Marcus Morris, Nemanja Bjelica, and Rashawn Holmes. The all-rookie teams really aren't that interesting just because I think there's only a handful of rookies that are over an 80 overall at this point, Luka and Trey, pretty much. So it's just these guys, it's really not that important. Taking a look now at our league leaders, Dennis Schroeder averaged almost 25 points per game in this scenario. Somehow was not MVP, and DeJounte Murray was. Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson were the best backcourt in the league, both averaging nearly 20 points a game. Sexton was at 20 points a game. Harrison Barnes, Karis LeVert, Jabari Parker. These are your leading scorers in this scenario. Leading rebounders, Ed Davis, Kenneth Faried, Zubac, Rashawn Holmes, Nerlens Noel. A lot of rebounds available because I'm sure not as many shots were being made in this than they normally would be. Assists, TJ McConnell, your assist leader, followed by Teodosic, Lonzo Ball, Tony Parker, and Rajon Rondo. Best shooters in the league, Landry Shamet, Joe Harris, Kyle Korver, Josh Hart, and Wes Matthews. You can see the seeding here in the Eastern Conference. It's not entirely different in terms of which teams made the playoffs. Obviously the seeds are different, but most of those teams are going to end up making the playoffs this year in the East, with the exception of the Hornets and the Wizards. On the other side, things are just all over the place in the Western Conference. As you would expect, there's a few upsets moving into the second round. The Nets advanced as a 6th seed. The Kings advanced as a 7, because there's not really that big of a gap between the top teams and the bottom teams in the playoffs when you take out all of these 80 overall players. And this is how you know something has to be up. The Hornets and the Nets are vying for the spot in the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference, and on the other side, it is the Spurs and Clippers. And there you have it. It's the Clippers and the Hornets meeting in the NBA Finals. The Hornets advancing after a very tight 7-game series against the Nets, and the Clippers taking out the Spurs in 6 games. The Hornets are led by Malik Monk, Jeremy Lamb, Tony Parker, Nicholas Batum, and Hernan Gomez. Actually, it kind of makes sense because the Hornets do have a lot of players. It's basically just Kemba and then a lot of players in that 77, 79 range. They have some guys that can score like Malik Monk and Jeremy Lamb. Similar story with the Clippers. They're known for having a deep team and a team that plays a lot of guys. And again, a lot of players between that 75 and 79 range, like Zubac, Beverly, Gilgeous-Alexander, Aldridge, Jermichael Green, all those guys. So we're going to go ahead and get into our NBA Finals in the 79 and under league. And there you go. The LA Clippers and Ivica Zubac are your NBA champions in our 79 and under league, averaging 24 and 15 in the finals while shooting 60% from the field. The Hornets' lack of a solid big man on the defensive end clearly was a big issue for them. They only picked up 1 win in the NBA Finals. And typically you'd think, okay, this is the end, right? The 79 and under league is over. We know who our NBA champion is, but there's one more thing that I'm curious about just to see if there's adjustments made by 2K in the offseason, because obviously all the 80 overall players are gone. So does that mean that the players that are free agents and are 79 overall, 78 overall, some of them might even go even further than that if they progress, their rating progresses, do they still become as valuable as they would have been with all these 80 overall players in there? Or does 2K adjust and say, oh, these are the best players in the league, they're worth a lot of money? So I'm interested how free agency is going to go. So here we are now in free agency, and these are the best players available on the free agency market. Brook Lopez, Jeremy Lamb, Allen Williams, Darren Collison, Kelly Oubre Jr. And it seems like for 2K, these are relatively typical numbers for players that are about this good. They might be a little bit higher than to be expected, but for some of the younger players like Kelly Oubre and Jeremy Lamb, they're a little bit higher than it is for some of the older players. Dwight Howard, for some reason, consistently is worth a ton of money to 2K. I don't know why. In every single simulation, he signed some randomly big deal. It makes no sense, but it seems like it hasn't adjusted too much. These are pretty typical numbers. And as I'm flipping through these salaries now that free agency is over, that's turned out to be pretty true. There's no max players, or at least newly max players. Some of these are old contracts, but any of the new contracts that were signed, guys like Jabari Parker, they're not, anything crazy based off the fact that they're the best players in the league. It's still based off of their overall. So it's not relative to anything else. Now, moving forward, maybe that might change. As some of these players become better and some of the rookies progress, maybe they will end up earning max contracts, but it would be interesting to see kind of how all that would work out with having so much cap space available. We know that 2K Sims can just be absolutely crazy sometimes, but I'm going to end it there just because I wanted to keep it to one single season and to see how the league was affected by not having any 80 overall players at all. And it ended up being the LA Clippers as your champions, the Hornets as your Eastern Conference champion, and DeJounte Murray as your NBA MVP when there are no 80 overalls in NBA 2K19. And there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.